When you stand in front of, especially, or sits as I am, in front of a group of Americans and you talk about the internet in China, there's always an elephant in the room, right? You stand and say, the Chinese internet is blank. What is the word that comes up? Censored, of course, it's censored. And I think there are a lot of people who would assume that because I worked for six full years at Baidu, that I'm heartily sick of talking about censorship of the internet in China. That is actually not true at all. I think that censorship is probably the most profitable angle of approach to really understand, well, not just a lot of the things about the internet, but to understand a lot about what's actually going on in China today. I mean, it really, besides sort of getting us right to the heart of some of the bedrock political, philosophical, sort of political philosophy issues that divide the notionally free West from China, it is really important. We know a lot about the priorities and the concerns of the Chinese Communist Party state by what they don't want you to have a life. It's almost like having the cutout shape of a thing. You kind of know what it looks like because it's been cut out, right? It's sort of like, you know from what is redacted what is ultimately important, especially because we can sort of turn the page over and see from outside of China what it was that was in fact redacted. So we learn quite a bit about China just from looking at the way that censorship actually operates. We also know a lot about it, about the way that they handle different topics. For example, recently, after the Tsai Ing-wen phone call and after some remarks that Rex Tillerson made, the so-called Ministry of Truth, I mean that's what it's ironically referred to as by some people, harmonized the idea that any conversations that were taking place outside of the directly controlled state media about the presidency of Donald Trump. I think it's really very telling and very interesting when they decided that they want to monopolize conversation around a particular topic. In many ways, this actually leaves them more play, more room to actually operate because they don't face the pressure that the online community at large, the populace at large, might otherwise exert, especially when it comes to issues that really touch on the Chinese nation, on patriotism or on nationalism, which is, I've said it before many times, nationalism is a very powerful ideological force, the embers of which are always glowing there in this fire pit. The party kind of stands astride that fire pit with a fan in one hand and a fire hose in the other, and is able to whip up that flame whenever it sees that it's to its advantage to do that, but can keep it from spilling its banks and burning down the valuable cropland around it with this fire hose in the other hand. It's through the mechanism of internet censorship that the controls are most effectively actually enacted.